Good morning, Energy Rogue Nation. Welcome back to another weather discussion. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Just wanted to get this forecast out here a little bit early today. And I also want to give folks that watch the channel a little bit of a update as far as next week's uploads. So typically I provide videos Tuesdays and Thursdays. That is not going to be the case next week, and obviously it's because of the holidays. However, I will be back the week after, so the week of the New Year's, which will be that first week of January. I will be back to regular video uploads. So for those of you that are watching here on the public YouTube channel, I will be on a little bit of a hiatus. However, I will be trying to kind of up my YouTube short game a bit and provide some content there, depending on what I decide to do. But for folks that are subscribed to Energy Rogue, you guys will still be getting updates. They will just be in written and audio form. So I will be continuously updating you throughout the week next week. And if I don't have a chance to talk to anybody here from both the channel as well as the Discord between now and then, I hope each and every one of you have a safe and happy holidays and eat some good food, because that's always something to look forward to on Christmas. We always think about that for Thanksgiving, but Christmas also features some good food. It doesn't get enough credit, but I digress. Let's dive into this morning's update, and we're going to start first with this chart, and this is prior to us going into European weather. And this is a chart that I have seen quite a bit on the social media sites such as Twitter and Facebook being posted, especially by folks who are nat gas traders. And I want to provide some context here because I think context is always important. It's one thing that I always preach here on the channel. And it also gives you a sense of what this is trying to convey. So this is, of course, obviously plotting heating degree days, but it's using the GEFS. So the GEFS, recall, is an ensemble, and it's taking about 20 to 30 different members. And think of those members as just interpretations, right? So imagine using the GFS, for example. That's just one interpretation. But imagine using 20 to 30 different interpretations. That gives you more of a statistical spread. And because of that, you can derive a mean and have a little bit more confidence in your forecast. Now, as we talk about here on the channel quite frequently, one of the limitations with the ensemble is that it does tend to mask extremes. So for example, if we were to experience some sort of stratospheric warming event up in the North Pole, that would then cause a major Arctic blast to impact much of the United States, the GEFS may actually underdo those values. And vice versa too, right? It's really either end of the extreme spectrum. It doesn't necessarily just have to be really, really, really cold. It can also, in some cases, overdo values depending on the circumstance. So whenever you take the mean of anything, and this is just going back to basic statistics, you tend to mask and smooth out some of the extremes, which can be to your benefit most times, but other times it may not be. But this is what this is plotting. It's plotting the GEFS ensemble, which is taking a mean of those 20 to 30 different members. But the unique thing about this chart is that rather than just plotting the latest run, it also plots the last four. So as you can see, we have four different colors here, all of which represented by different runs of the GEFS. So for example, we have the 6Z, we have the 0Z, the 12, and the 18. So it's plotting the last four runs. And the reason for that, in my conversations with folks that are professional nat gas traders, for people that I've talked to in the Energy Rogue platform, beside traders, just those that have expertise in this area, they tell me the reason for this is because it gives them an idea of what the trend change has been. If you look, say, at this yellow line, which would represent the 0Z run for the 19th, which would be pretty much as of late last night, you see that we are actually seeing a bit of an upward trend in HDD. So it's actually trending upwards. Whereas the prior runs, if we look, say, for example, at the 12, 18, 18Z, was trending a little bit lower. So this chart is telling, because for those folks that are vested in nat gas and energy, you see from these last four runs a gradual uptrend in those heating degree days by the time we get to the new year. And this has been something that I had even been alluding to as of Tuesday. And really, as of this weekend, early this week, of this possibility, and now the GEFS, as it's getting in essentially the time range, within that time range of the first week of January, now it's starting to pick up that value, right? It's starting to pick up that first week of January, and we're beginning to see a bit of uptrend as we get closer. Now, the caveat with this is that, as we all know, weather models are constantly changing. So just because it's trending upwards now doesn't mean that by the time we get to this weekend, we don't see fluctuation down or fluctuation further up. There's going to be this constant sort of oscillating and a pendulum swing, if you will. Not so much extreme per se, at least not all the time, but my point is there's going to be this constant fluctuation. So it's something that can be helpful in forward thinking, but also it can be a limiting factor as it can change. And that is the biggest limiting factor of weather models, is that we don't have one single weather model that is perfect. As a matter of fact, there is no such thing as a silver bullet in meteorology, even with the advance of AI. Now, if we head on over to WX Rogue, we'll take a look real quickly at some of the charts that we have here. And I continue to emphasize, check out this website, wxrogue.com. You do not have to be a subscriber of the Energy Rogue platform to use this website. If you are a viewer of this channel, feel free. There's the link right there. Check it out. There's a lot of great charts. And even if you're not somebody that's in energy nat gas and you just want to track weather, these values correlate to colder and warmer temperatures. And to top it all off, we provide a lot of the charts from the NOAA Climate Prediction Center, particularly the ones that relate to the probability of warm air or cold air within a certain time frame. So we'll check out here, for example, the next 6 to 10 days. The biggest storyline is once we get out of the 21st, pretty much after this weekend, we are expecting to see some well above normal temperatures for the Midwest, as well as even parts of the Northeast. I pay particularly close attention to the Midwest because what I continue to see is a low pressure system that's going to be advecting a lot of warm air northward into the Midwest by the time we get to later on next week. And if that's the case, I mean, right now, if we were to take any of these models at face value, we would see that they are plotting pretty much anywhere between 55 to 65 degrees for essentially after Christmas. That is way above normal. And in some cases, we're talking 20 to 30 degrees above normal. So that is something you want to keep in mind. I am very, very confident in this idea. We're already seeing that Pacific jet set up in the northern Pacific, and that is a telltale sign that we will see some milder temperatures pretty much encompassing much of the United States, at least through that last week of December. Now, I continue to hold the opinion that things are going to change in January back to what we've experienced in those first couple weeks of December. We already just showed the GEFS beginning to pick up on that thought. But then if we also go down here to our charts, which are particularly population weighted, you will see, for example, that we have this run-up right around the 21st. We dive down to accommodate for that warm, milder air coming into the United States. And then once we get towards that 30th, 31st, then we see the swing back up. Now keep in mind, you are looking at the GFS, and this is just one solution, but it is still in line with the trends that we are seeing on other models, such as the European as well as the ensembles. So pretty much a very similar trend that we are beginning to see become more and more confident over these last pretty much 24 to 48 hours. We'll continue to monitor that, of course, as we go forward. And I also wanted to mention, as an honorable note, we do also provide gas-weighted degree days by those EIA regions. You can check those out below. And you'll notice that a lot of these do trend pretty much in line with population weight. And that is something that we would expect. We would also expect that our gas-weighted degree days would be less than our population-weighted because we are factoring in multiple weights into that. So it should be, I don't want to say watered down a bit, but it is on purpose in order to factor in both your population weight as well as your gas weight. So something to keep in mind there for those folks that do track our gas-weighted product. That's the way that is calculated. Okay, so now let's real quickly take a reprieve from the United States because I would be remiss to not talk about Europe. That's why we're here every Thursday. My European friends, we cannot neglect you. We have to talk about some European weather on Thursdays. So the last couple of days, I mean, we have here at Energy Rogue forecasted for a mostly above normal season for much of Europe. And that was a change from my original forecast back in September, which was forecasting for some below normal temperatures for Eastern Europe, or below normal for most of the season, whereas Western Europe was expected to see more of those above normals. Now, we have stayed pretty much in line and consistent with the Western European forecast, but considering the changes that I've seen, especially with our forward-thinking climate models, as well as our current pattern that we're experiencing and the current trends in line with our climatological averages, I have decided to make a change as of last week to where, rather than just saying Western Europe is going to be mild and above normal for most of the season, I have now shifted that also to Eastern Europe as well. And we've seen this play out here over the last 72 hours. Look at this. We're talking about anywhere between 12 to 20 degrees Celsius above normal throughout much of Eastern Europe, and that extends even as far east as Ukraine and Belarus. We're also seeing that even as far west back towards Germany, and even as far south as the Mediterranean. So a lot of that area is experiencing those above normal temperatures, right? And I even also wanted to mention, I think that's we got the Mediterranean. I believe that's the Black Sea. Topography. Gotta get that. But Mediterranean, we'll stick with the Mediterranean at least. We do have some above normal temperatures all kind of scattered throughout there. Now, this trend is expected to continue, and I'll just use the European model for the sake of today's discussion because I think this really drives home the point, right? So as we get to today, we're going to continue to see those above normal temperatures linger throughout Eastern Europe and pretty much all of Europe throughout both today and even extending into Friday, the last day of the work week. And then as we enter into the weekend, look at that. We saw a little bit of a reprieve, some decrease in some of those above normal temperatures, but here it returns yet again. We have more of this zonal jet flow that's pumping in more of that warmer air, and that is, of course, subduing any of that cold air advection from north in the poles. We're going to continue to see the same trend for, again, Western and Eastern Europe as we go through that Saturday-Sunday period. And then as we get towards Tuesday, Wednesday, and this is probably our first real opportunity at some below normal temperatures, as we get towards Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, could be seeing some return to below normal temperatures, and that is likely to be on the heels of a low pressure system that dives to the southeast and brings some of those cooler temperatures to places like Italy and Greece, as well as back towards France and Spain. But that's not going to last very long. It's not expected to, because then once we enter out of the holidays, we still see those cold temperatures or below normal sticking around, but then eventually we see a rebound towards those above normals by the time we get to that first week of January. So think inverse that of the United States in terms of timing here. When we are likely to be experiencing below normal temperatures for, say, the Midwest and the Northeast, Europe is likely then to experience the opposite, which would be the above normal. Now, that being said, aside from some of these below normal temperatures sort of scattered about over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be rather subdued, and I also expect it to be temporary even. I really anticipate most of this being above normal throughout the next couple of weeks. And remember, this is just the European model. If we were to look at, say, the GFS is not very bullish on some of these below normal temperatures. And to be quite honest with you, because of that disagreement that exists between some of our main medium-range models, it doesn't make me confident that we're going to be seeing a lot of this cold air lasting very long anyway, considering what we've seen the last couple of weeks here in Europe. So, with that, that concludes today's video. And of course, if you want more context on the United States weather, be sure to head on over to the YouTube channel and check out Tuesday's upload, because that information is still relevant. We actually break down why I anticipate us seeing a return to winter, essentially, as we head into January. What we saw in the beginning of December coming back in January and even into February. I break down all of that in Tuesday's upload. Be sure to check that out on the channel. And also, if you haven't yet, whether you are subscribed to Energy Rogue or not, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below on this video if you have any questions. And I mentioned subscribe. You can subscribe to both Energy Rogue, which you can check out their page, energyrogue.com, and you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel here at Weather Minds. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I got a lot of folks watching the videos. Y'all aren't subscribed. So if you want to get notifications when these videos are posted, be sure to subscribe. It's not to my benefit, it is to your benefit, so that way you know when I go live, and we can, of course, check out and discuss the weather. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the next weather video. Take care.